welcome to Grace and Fire. My name is Glenda. I am so excited. I am sitting down with Georgette. She is a class of 2021 Elizabeth Dole Fellow. And as you know, this foundation has a very special spot in my heart. And I am so excited to invite her on to have a chat with her, just a little bit about caregiving, but I want to hear more about her garden and the things that she loves to grow. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Georgette up when she gives me the thumbs up. Are we ready? All right, we're ready. Okay, everybody, help me welcome Georgette.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to Grace and Fire.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you're on with me, and I haven't officially met you till today, so this is really exciting.
Yes.
And we see each other in our fellows page, but
yes, we do.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, we are both Elizabeth Dole Fellows, and I am a class of 2014, and Georgette is a class of 2021, which is awesome. Yes, she is a beautiful soil sister. That is a very dear friend of mine. Her name is Sherry from Black's Tropical.
Hi, Sherry.
Yes. And so Sherry, why don't you tell me just a snippet about your role as a caregiver? Just a little.
So, my role started very slowly. And I have a 5-month-old puppy who is gnawing on my fingertips at the moment. So don't mind my crazy,
poor dog.
He's right over here off to the side. But my role started slowly. When I first met my husband, Jason, things were pretty normal. There were more good days than bad days. And my biggest thing was learning how to live with PTSD. In the fall of 2016, he wound up breaking both of his feet within a week of each other. And that kind of started the slow downhill, different medicine infusions, 3 different back surgeries, wound care, all eventually leading up to Charcot foot, which is kind of a disease where your feet and the bones in your feet and your ankle sort of shatter and break, but then fuse in weird ways. And anyway, so he wound up requiring a double amputation, lost both of his feet below the knee. And that was when I became his full-time caregiver and when I really embraced the role of being his caregiver. Hey, no eating. So, so that's kind of the short snippet of my journey into becoming caregiver.
And how did you find out about the foundation and apply for the fellowship?
So the first time I ever heard about the foundation was 2017 or 2018. And we don't normally watch morning television, and that day we had the Today Show on. There was a teaser for a segment, join Tom Hanks, hear about military caregiver stories. I didn't identify as a caregiver yet, but I knew the frustrations that I had with the VA, just trying to help Jason navigate through things, the things that I had to deal with. And so I was kind of interested in hearing what the caregivers had to say. And of course, it was Tom Hanks. So I'm like, I need to watch.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. Yeah, he's
right?
a lovely guy.
So I watched the segment, and I still didn't quite identify with the caregivers, and as far as being a caregiver myself. But that's definitely, kind of, it plants seeds, right? And you kind of, as things happen, all of a sudden you go, right?
Yeah.
I wound up having so Jason's amputations were February of 2019. Our caregiver support group at the VA finally decided to do something and had an in-person day-long training in November of 2019.
Wow.
That was the first time I walked into a room with other caregivers and kind of felt that connection. And one of those caregivers was Melissa Swire, who applied as a 2020 fellow.
Oh my goodness.
So, she kind of talked to me about it. And I still wasn't even going to apply. I'm like, I don't know that I'm there yet. I don't know that I'm strong enough to be that voice for others. But just a series of events that happened, and I said, you know what, I'm going to apply, and here I am.
Wow. Wow. Um, I have somebody that keeps popping in, and I'm going to apologize. There is a chat, and I think I posted the wrong link. Jen Paulson, if you will go to YouTube, I posted the wrong link in our group. She's a
Oops.
fellow, and I think that I'm going to have to go back to my group page. So she's popping in as a guest. And I think, and that would be my fault. So let
That's
me,
okay. Things happen.
I technology and me, and I'm like, so let me just fix that if that's okay. I'm gonna hit the share,
Take
and
your
then,
time.
okay. I apologize. Let's see. Here we go. And Jen, if you can hear me backstage, I'm going to go back to our fellows page. I'm going to drop the correct link. So I'm taking care of that one right now. So be looking for that. And all right. Let's see here. Paste. There we go. All right. All right, Jen, if you can hear me, go back to the post and then click on the new link. It's in the correct place. So anyhow, uh, so you one of the things I found when I went looking at the website that I thought was so good, it was a quote that you hit or that was said on there. So I'm gonna read it if that's okay. And it
That's
says,
fine.
Georgette has struggled to maintain her own identity and practice self-care. She devoured any information on self-care she could find, only to be left disappointed by how generic it all seemed. Now, whether it is standing on her porch to watch a thunderstorm roll in, gosh, my favorite thing, or a lunch outing with a friend, she has become passionate about the importance and value of recharging, digging deeper into learning new things, to think about self care and applying it to her own life. And I thought, wow, what a message for all of the caregivers out there. But one of the things that we connected also on is gardening, and
Yes.
you have a passion for that. And is that would be something that is for your self-care, correct?
Um, it's funny because I don't consider gardening part of my self care.
Oh, you don't?
I don't. I don't.
Oh, okay, okay.
I have a completely different set of reasons for wanting to garden than I do for my self care. Um, I for me for and I don't want to take it completely out of the self care realm because for me there is
Yeah.
something amazing about being able to provide for
Mm,
yourself.
mhm.
And to put something on the table that you grew yourself, that you know where it came from, from start to finish. Like there's something amazing about that.
Oh my, yes. Yes. And
But the
so,
whole act of gardening, I'm not like, I would much rather be inside in the air conditioning. Like I don't want to be sweaty, dirty, gross. Like I hate that with a passion. But you know what? Sometimes you got to do the not so good things to get to that good place.
absolutely, absolutely. I agree with all of that. So yes, you shared something with me that I thought was really interesting about the area that you live in and how you had to set up for gardening. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about that history, that would be. I think that's just such a rich history with with the land and stuff that we were talking about.
How far back do you want me to go? Do you want?
Far back you want to, because I think you took your property, knowing the history of it, and you built your gardens up and based on that. And I thought that was so fascinating.
So I live in the Pocono Mountain region of Pennsylvania. So we have mountains. The soil's horrible. We have rocks like you wouldn't believe, or some people don't even call them rocks. It's just pieces of the mountain. Like it's I like we have my husband loves to garden. He loves to like create flower beds and do all the things. Um, and so we have all of these like flower beds, these natural rock flower beds. All my dog is chewing on my he just broke my light. He just chewed it.
Are you
He's
serious?
totally did. That's okay. Um, anyway, like, and all of the rocks, these massive rocks that are, part of these natural, it all came from our property. He's harvested them all from our property. So we don't have the best growing soil here to do that. And even, other places that I've lived, like it's always side of the mountain. It's rocks. The soil's horrible. Like if you're going to garden, the easiest way to do it is to do raised beds.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just gonna pick that up so you can't chew on it anymore. Okay.
Yes. Please don't chew on it, sweetheart. Wow. So how do you have like one raised bed or do you have several raised beds?
I have several different raised beds and I use several different mediums. I don't care for using saws. I've seen way too many accidents with saws for me to not want to use them. So I just buy pre-made. I have grow bags. I have pre-made. They, come in so many different sizes, so many different materials. And so that's how I did it for my garden.
I think that's smart. I mean, I have one. It's a Vita Garden is the brand, and I had gotten it from a really big box store. I'll tell you which one later. But I bought two of them, and then I connected it. But basically, all you do is you put in a rod, like and it hides. You don't see the rod, and then but then you just put these panels straight down in, and
Hmm.
there is two composting bins in the middle of these gardens, so it leaches out the nutrients.
Oh,
In,
that's fantastic.
yeah, yeah, and then of course I have in ground as well. Um, so I do both, but I really like the raised garden method. It is so easy to do. I mean, and if you get your beds high enough, it's easier on your body to be able to maintain that garden, and then you're not weeding as much. Um,
Absolutely. And they're actually really good. I mean, they have, like elevated ones.
mhm.
So if you have a care recipient who has mobility challenges like my husband, it makes it very easy for them to work the beds.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing I like about it too is, you can add like whatever you want to it too. You can do it in the hugelkultur method, or you can add all dirt, or however, just to get that bed built up too. And
Hmm.
plants seem to thrive better in raised beds. From my personal experience, I get the better production from that one huge bed that I've got versus in ground. Yeah.
And I think part of that reason is because you really have control over what goes into that raised bed. Where when you're doing it in ground, there's a lot of amending that has to be done because you don't know. I mean, you can have your soil tested and such, but I mean, just the quality and the aeration and all the things that go into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then it's easier for me to add organic matter, like on the top. For me, in my area, we go through a winter, and I like to put leaves that have been mulched on top to really help that bed out.
Hmm.
Also, I have chickens, so I also put chicken manure into the bed, into the compost part of it especially during the winter, because that allows that time to break down, and then man, it's just amazing. I tell people raised bed gardening is real gardening.
It
It is
really
I
is.
way of doing it. So in your raised bed gardening, like how do you like plant your vegetables? Do you do it from seed, or do you buy starts, or
Um,
a little bit of
I
both?
usually, I usually, well, it depends on what it is.
Mhm.
Um, so like I grew popcorn this year and that goes from seed.
Oh my gosh, you grew. Okay, we need to. Okay, pause for a second here.
Check it
Oh
out.
my gosh, that is gorgeous.
I grew two different kinds. That's my other. Wait, here we go. There we go.
Oh my gosh. That is on my
Yeah.
bucket list to try. Was that
It's
easy?
so it's so easy. It's so easy.
Oh my gosh. Now, have you actually popped it yet?
Not yet, because you really need to let the kernels dry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They need to get down to about 13.5% moisture in order for them to pop. So even though they look really dry, they're not dry enough yet.
Okay. I've learned something new. That actually is on my bucket list um, to give it a shot because I have tried growing sweet corn and I struggle with it. Um, which is really odd because right next to my property, now I do it in the opposite years. Keep that in mind. We have field corn that is grown. So in the years that we get the soy, which is this next year coming up, then I try growing sweet corn and I struggle with it. But popcorn has been on my radar for a while to give a try. And I cannot believe you brought that up because it really is. It's on my radar to give it a shot. So wow. Wow. And okay, so where did you get your seeds from, if you don't mind me asking?
I use a couple of different mail order places. We do have a local place too, that does, but they just don't have quite the selection.
Okay. Oh,
So I love using the actual like the gardening place, like they send out catalogs and the whole nine yards because there's such a selection of things that you can grow.
yes.
Um, you'd be amazed at the variety and just how different the varieties can be within the same, you know, two different popcorns, right?
I
Wait, here we
love
go. That way.
I would have to have both of them because I am such a variety person. I use Baker Creek. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. It's rareseeds.com, and I order my fruits and vegetables through them, the seeds. It's not my only one, but
Right.
I really like having one of my things was Chinese long noodles. And another YouTube friend of mine, I sent him some seeds, and he wasn't real sure on these things, but they're like,
Mhm.
I don't have any here, but they're like a green bean is the best way I can describe it. But they get 18 to 24 inches long,
Wow.
and you don't have to string them. But you do pole bean, think of it like that. They have to grow up. So I use cattle panels and I let them grow and then I pick them and then can them up. I do pressure canning or I'll freeze them for the winter.
Hmm.
Um, and they taste just like a green bean, but they are the weirdest things. And uh, and I sent him some, and he wasn't real sure on it. And he posted some videos over the summer, and it just made me laugh so hard because he tried them and he fell mad in love with them. And he
Yeah.
said they're going to be a part of his permanent garden. He lives in Georgia, and I'm Indiana, so it's two totally different growing zones, and they worked out really well for him. But
Good.
I love variety. I think it's phenomenal.
And I think, I mean, even when, if you have I have several farm stands near us. When you get into the valleys, it's not so bad. We have some really good farms in the valley areas around here, but even they grow for the masses, even if it's just their little farm stand. So you get just the basics. So it's nice to be able to have that
Absolutely. And to be able to support,
flexibility.
yeah, and to be able to support local too. I mean, I think that's important. But I actually like gardening because I feel like we're shopping local, even though it's our own gardens. You pay for those seeds. That's shopping local to me, you know?
Yes, it is.
So what are some of the things that you really like if you had to give five top must-haves to grow in your garden, what would they be?
I love my popcorn. And for me, I mean, look at how beautiful this is. I love to give this as a gift. Like at Christmas time, like it's ready to pop. Like usually it takes about that long. Like for me, this is like such a great gift. Like I grew this here. Have some real popcorn, right?
Absolutely.
Potatoes are probably my number two. store potatoes are horrible compared to potatoes you grow on. There's just no comparison in the taste, none.
No, there really isn't. I tried growing regular potatoes, and I'm not done yet. I think next year I'm going to put it in my raised bed. I do purple sweet potatoes. Oh, best.
I tried sweet potatoes. They didn't quite work out for me so well.
Oh, maybe let's see here. What grow zone are you in? Do you know your
I do know my grow zone,
okay?
and I'm drawing a blank on what it is.
It's okay. You can come back to it if you think of it. I'm 6B is what I am. And I have to start mine a little bit early with the slips and get them kind of going. And then I'm in the Kentucky Derby area. So Derby weekend is how we
Hmm.
plant by. It's kind of a funny thing because I tell people that all the time. I'm from Kentuckiana and we go by the Derby when we put our seeds and plants in the ground, and that's when I do my sweet potatoes. But it's literally like right before the frost that I'm harvesting. So they require a lot of heat, and that might be some of, of it. But I would not give would keep trying.
I was gonna say, and that could be part of it. I just may have put them in a little bit too late. Usually, we can plant our cold crops usually like by the middle of April,
Okay.
um, and then everything else can go in usually the weekend after Mother's Day weekend. That's kind of our.
Okay. Okay. We let's see here. So my cold crops, I start those at the beginning of March. And then by May is when our summer crops go in. And then typically in October is when our first frost date happens for us. Although ours was a little bit later, so we had a little bit extra time out of things. But I didn't do a fall crop like I should have. I'm going to be honest with that one. Um, I just life happens, caregiver life.
It's,
You know, it
you know,
it
I understand. Well, my garden kind of suffered a little bit this year. I had a chemotherapy treatment that I was undergoing over the summer that I had to be very careful with the amount of pressure I put on my hands and my feet. So I wasn't allowed to touch gardening tools or knives or any of those things. So
goodness. I think I would have to go out and sniff the garden. If I, like, let me just smell it, please, 'cause I'm missing it. So, and I hope things are okay now.
not quite yet, but we'll
Okay.
get there.
All right. So, going to keep you in prayers then, if that's okay.
That's fine. That's
All right.
fine.
All right. So, okay. So we had potatoes and we had corn is two of the
Corn,
five. So what else do you?
onions, onions.
Yes. Yeah.
I again, nothing like, even though you can get the Vidalias and the sweet onions, I have to be careful with my husband's stomach issues. So I grow an onion called a candy onion. So it's super, super sweet.
Oh, yes. Do you get yours from the starts from like locally, or do you buy those online?
I buy those online.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I don't have a place locally that I can get those.
So I did that for the first time this year. I bought from Dixondale, and I had my very first success rate with onions to buy from starts. And
And they're so easy.
oh
So
yeah,
easy.
oh my gosh, I planted 150 and I thought that would be enough. And next year I want to double that because they are so good.
Yes. And
Mu-
and again, it's you go back to that there's just no comparison in the flavor. It's
No, there isn't. And then to have it locally too. I mean, just right out your backyard, it's right there. And you just like if you're making a dish, I love to cut the greens off if they're still kind of growing and get the greens
mhm.
left over and then go, okay, well, I need a little bit of green onion. So I'm just going to snip from here and snip from there. And it helps the plant to actually bulb up even more. To get those ones that are bending off, because when they start to flop over, then that the bulb is typically done. Sometimes they do it prematurely. So, but I love those greens. Oh, so
Yes.
good. All right. So onions, potatoes, corn or popcorn, I should say.
Popcorn. Thai basil. I love Thai food, and unless you have a special, I mean, thank goodness we do have a specialty store that I could get it there, but
Sure.
it's not something that you can just go into the grocery store and buy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't tried Thai basil yet. So that's something I need to put on my radar. I do cinnamon basil and then Geneva basil is the two that I like to do, but I have not tried Thai basil. I need to add that to my list.
It has like almost a black licorice flavor. It's interesting.
Ooh, I bet that's good. I bet that's good.
Hmm.
And then what's your last one?
What would be my last one? Probably just the tomato. It's
Yeah.
pick it right off the vine, a good BLT, or even just tomato and mayonnaise. Like,
Yes, a tomato
oh,
sandwich. Mm. I
it's
It's hard to describe. I have a family member that hates tomatoes, and I'm like, okay. There's a channel called Roots and Refuge, and I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's pretty big, but the lady that runs that channel, her name is Jess, and her thing is store bought tomatoes taste like disappointment. And I'm like,
I
yes,
love that because I went to the grocery store the other day and I'm looking at the tomatoes going, "Ugh, really?"
they're gritty and they're not exactly like a good homegrown tomato. Pick your tomato that you're growing at home. They are a million times better than what you can buy in the store. So
Absolutely.
I got into Dr. Witchy's yellow tomatoes, and I love them. They're like a big yellow tomato, and they're very mild in flavor. So that was something I tried this year, and it's on my list for next year. And then the yellow cherry tomatoes. Oh, and the purple Cherokee.
Oh,
Mm.
you know, and again, as things you're not going to get at the regular grocery store, all of those different varieties. It's just,
Yeah, I love it. How many, like, do you like put a lot of tomato plants in, or do you put just like a few, or?
just a few. My husband is one of those people who does not like tomatoes. So
Oh,
it's just me.
yeah.
So it's just me. So I usually do just I pick one, big tomato, one nice slicing tomato, and then, a grape tomato or a cherry tomato, whichever.
Oh, you only need one of those. I mean, because they're so prolific.
Yes.
You'll be eating them and begging people, please take them.
Have some more.
Yes, yes. You need the hookup. I've got the hookup. My aunt is in the chat, and she knows that I'm always pushing produce. Like, please take. And she took some to her church, like a whole trunk full. We had boxes, and I'm like, please take, because I've got more than enough. I preserve mine in various different ways, but there's only so much that two people can eat. So
Yes.
you got to kind of push it out. So, in your back to your raised beds, do you have a method that you like to plant your plants in, or do you just willy nilly it, or?
So I find with gardening you can't just willy nilly. Like there has to have some sort of prep, some sort of planning.
Mhm.
Um, so I use the square foot gardening method. Um, it
Yes.
allows me to plant an awful lot in a very small space. We live on 4 acres, but most of it, and that's why all the properties are around where I am. It, most of the property that you have remains wooded, and you just have your small piece that they deforested.
Yes.
So doing that square foot method, you're planting super, super close together.
Mhm.
But there are so many benefits from it. So
Oh
many.
my gosh. Yeah. It's the weeding that it really cuts out on those weeds. And then if you plant it right, there's like the sisters. So like plants work together with different
Mhm.
plants and you get them kind of close to one another. I use that method as well in that raised bed. and I love it. I love it.
You know, and not even, oh, I forgot where I was going to go with my thought. Never mind. I hate when that happens.
Do that too. It's all good. I do that too. I'm like, wait a minute. Come
Do
on.
it. Bye.
It's okay. If you think of it, we'll get back to that. Yeah, I was given one of the square foot gardening little, I don't know what you call it, the little square with the little dibber that you
Okay.
put holes in, and it is my favorite tool in the garden, in that garden. It is, it makes it so much easier for me, and I like the color coded too for me. But I know that doing homemade too works out really well too. There's a lot of people who will just take a piece of plywood and drill little holes in it, and I think that's a great way of doing it too.
I was going to say, I don't even get that technical with it. I literally just take my tape measure and a stick and just draw my squares. It's, you know,
That works great. No, I think that's a great way of doing it too. So in the garden, what is your favorite tool that you like to use?
um,
Or tools. Let's say maybe two tools.
I mean, there's my hands.
Yes,
Um,
that counts.
my,
Yes.
it absolutely counts. I mean, there's so much. As I mentioned earlier, I hate like the dirt part of it, right? But I mean, even just as things are growing, just to be able to, to feel and that textile piece to it is there's something to it. But even like when you have your goodness gracious,
It's okay.
your your things like sage and basil and what is the word for that I'm drawing a blank on? See,
Uh,
look now you now you
cilantro or
yeah,
herbs.
right. Those herbs. Thank you. Yes, I couldn't think of the word herbs, and you took a moment too.
I do the same
But you touch them,
thing. Oh, good.
and
Yeah.
afterwards,
Oh, I know. Yes.
right?
Heaven. It's heaven
You
smelling.
know.
I had a psychiatrist that I had taken my husband to, and I was telling her, how I like to put my hands in the dirt. I enjoy it. I'm kind of a weirdo. Socks and shoes off, feet in the dirt, hands in the dirt. And she said, no, that's actually not weird. She said, it's putting you back in touch with the earth, and it's grounding you, and it's what calms you. It's same with touching the vegetables and the herbs and doing this.
Hmm.
It's a grounding technique to kind of like help with the madness and the chaos of life, and just to be able to center back and take a moment, take a breath. And so I don't think hands are a bad tool by any means. I actually think it's one of the smartest things to say. So no, I absolutely agree with hands. But yeah, you will find me out, shoes and socks off. I will wash my feet before I go in. I'm not dragging that stuff in. But yeah, that's how I ground myself. For me, I would say I have a hori hori, and I love my hori hori. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's oh gosh, it looks wicked. It looks like a great big old knife and meets a like a shovel, but it's like really thin, and then it's got little numbers on there for to measure, like if you have to go down. I have hard soil in the uh, regular garden, and sometimes to break that open, it's like slicing it into butter. So you go down in it,
Nice.
you can put your plants in there, and I absolutely love it. And then my newest one, and I use it everywhere, is my Felcos. I got those as a Christmas gift. They're shears, and um, I want to say they're Swiss made. But I had it on my Christmas list. I'm like, if anybody wants to buy me anything, I would love a pair of Felcos. So, um, yeah, they're perfect for my hand. I was buying another well-known brand, and it caused me to have problems, with tearing up my hands, and so I really enjoy. I love my Felcos, so those go out with me all the time. Um, okay, so do you like to preserve your foods, or do you eat them?
Oh, so there was a point in time in my life where I was a crazy preserver.
Oh,
That happened to be with my ex-husband, and he got custody of all of the preserving stuff as he got custody. We
oh
had So when I was with my ex-husband, I've kind of scaled it back a little bit now that I'm with Jason, but we had a 20 by 40-foot garden that, again, it was all raised beds. And it was with him that I first heard about the square foot method of gardening. Again, side of a mountain, so all raised beds. We had chickens, the whole 9 yards. And I used to like crazy. Like we had the pressure canner. I still have a dehydrator. I still freeze. But I don't have a pressure canner.
okay.
That's not something that I've replaced for myself anymore. But yeah, I used to go crazy. I mean, I would can chicken. I would can if you would give it to me, I'd can it.
That's me actually right now. If you give it to me, I'll can it. Or I have a freeze dryer, so I freeze dry too. And the
Oh,
herbs are
that's cool.
things. Yeah, so it's like a dehydrator except for it freezes it and then it literally just dries it out so it tastes like the day you put it in the machine. And it can last up to 25 years. But my favorite things so far have been the herbs and to be able to put those into dishes. I just bought a bunch of cilantro because I grew a bunch over the summer, but I didn't save enough back. So next year, I'm going hard on my herbs. I want more herbs. But I just bought 6 bunches of cilantro the other day at my local grocery store and freeze dried at those. And the smell and the taste of it is
Hmm.
just like if I had bought it fresh. And to be able to put that in things like guacamole or put it in just dishes that need, cooking, it is phenomenal. And the other one that I like to do is apple mint to make my own teas.
Okay.
And then I grew stevia for the first time last year, this year, but it was this past season. And I had no idea how good stevia was, like fresh. I bought it in the cute little packets. Uh,
Right.
but I bought a plant. No, I bought 2 plants, excuse me, from a local nursery and gave them a shot. And I thought, oh, you know, let me see, and then I freeze dried it. I tried it fresh, and it's okay. It's a little bitter to me fresh, just a little. But when I threw it in the freeze dryer, and then I take that apple mint and the stevia, and I mix them together, and I
Mm.
have this really nice little tea kettle, and make my own tea. You don't need any other sweeteners. It's like the perfect apple mint tea.
That sounds amazing.
It is so good. So I really am liking my freeze dryer for that. And I do the canning. I like to do my meats just because being a caregiver, on the days where I'm at the VA a lot, or it's just been a really stressful day to be able to pop that can it at the end of the
And
day.
it's already cooked. You just have to heat it up. You're good to go.
It is. But you know what? I think the store bought too. Buying store bought meats too and just making it easy too. Hey, that works, makes our lives easier, whatever it takes. Um, but I like freezing too. I do a lot of that. With the onions specifically, I'll tell you what
Hmm.
I picked all of them. I dried them out. I had them in storage and I noticed that I was starting to get some greens and I just chopped them up in different ways, and they're all sitting in my freezer ready to go.
Have you ever dehydrated a sweet onion?
No, I have not.
So I, to me, they taste like French fried onions. I would literally just sit there and pop them like candy.
Okay, guess who's going to be trying this one? I have a dehydrator too. Oh my goodness. So that
Yeah,
would be like my new snack.
I would just like just pop them like.
Now, do you have to take it? Do you keep your machine in the house, or does it smell up the whole house, or do you put it in the garage?
Um, that's a good question. I don't remember. So when I was with my ex-husband, we had the space in our kitchen that I had a counter that I could set it up on and let it go. I
Sure.
don't remember it being too horribly smelly.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
That's
my my house now is much smaller. I don't have counter. counter space is the big issue. But two, the amount of heat that they put off in, such a small space, so I do it outside.
Okay, okay. Well, that's a good tip for me to give it a try and see, because I don't my husband is so sensitive to smells, and so I always ask that
Understood.
question because of that. Um,
Understood.
yeah,
I would probably just do it outside then.
okay, okay. Well, I'm gonna give that a try. I plan on growing sweet onions next year. I've already been looking at my little Dixondale catalog, and that's actually on my thing to give a shot and see what happens. So what is like your family's favorite thing that you grow out of the garden? What do they get excited about?
Um, that's, my husband has the diet of a 5-year-old.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So he
Got
loves the potatoes and he's excited for the popcorn. He keeps asking, can we pop the popcorn yet? Can we pop the popcorn yet? When can we pop the popcorn?
I'd be right there with your husband. Can we try it now? Can we try it now? Come on, come on. I'd be right there with him. Oh, okay. Well, hey, so he's excited about the popcorn and he loves the potatoes. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Mine, he just is supportive. He's like, okay, what are you gonna cook tonight? Kind of whatever. And I'm like, okay. But my kids, I've got one in particular. Now he's a school teacher and he lives several hours from us because he teaches at a small town school. But when he comes home, he's always asking for tomatoes. So that's his thing. But when he was growing up, that's all he would eat is tomatoes. And having that garden when he was here, I'm like, there's your tomatoes right there, especially the cherry tomatoes. Yeah, that was, he'd
Yeah.
sit and pop them. I'm like, yeah, you're my son because I see you. I do the same thing. I go out to the garden. I don't wash it or anything. I just kind of just rub it
Hmm.
off and just pop those tomatoes. So yeah, yeah. Well, I've got a question for you. Would you like to play a little fun game with me?
Sure.
Okay, so I have, in honor of talking about gardening, this is my little flower pot, and I have a bunch of questions, and I'm just going to take a handful out. We won't have to do, like, there's a lot here. So I'm just going to do a little mix and match, and it's kind of a quick round. No answer is wrong. So just answer however you want. And if you want to pass, you can pass. No problem. Okay. So you feel
Okay.
comfortable, whatever you feel like answering. Okay. So the first one is, would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
I would rather talk to animals.
Me too. Me too. And then what's something you could eat for a week straight?
Cannolis.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. And then what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookies and cream.
That sounds so good. Your favorite season?
Summer.
Okay. Okay. I
I
like,
am I'm a warm weather girl.
are you? No, I am too. I lived out west, and when my husband was in the military, and I miss that warm air. So I'm with you. Favorite junk food?
Um, right now I'm on a Butterfinger kick.
Ooh, I love
Yeah.
Butterfingers. That sounds good. Okay, this is a really, you can pass on this one, but do you snore?
I say no.
Okay.
Jason tells me different, but I say no.
Um, my husband would say the same thing. Favorite childhood TV show?
Oh, I think Full House.
Oh, I love Full House. Oh my goodness. Are you watching Fuller House?
I did watch Fuller House. I did.
Oh, oh, so good. Okay, what was your last Halloween costume?
Um, I think I think this is what it was. We were invited to a Halloween party. We had to put something together super quick, and Jason was in. They were trying to fix his Charco foot with a a boot specifically meant for that, that's supposed to kind of like stabilize everything. And
Yeah.
so it kind of already looked like he was, he was walking with canes and doing the whole thing. So I just kind of like put a bandage and kind of made him look like he had a black eye. And then I got a nurse's, like a scrubs and the whole, so I went as his nurse.
Oh my
No,
gosh,
I lied.
good.
No, I lied. We'd had one more after that.
Okay. What?
And and we totally like kind of cheaped out on this one. Jason was not up for dressing at all, so I did a sign for his shirt that said Peter Peter, and I went as a pumpkin.
I love that one too. Oh my gosh. So creative. So creative. This year, I have a granddaughter. And so my granddaughter wore a little policeman outfit, and her parents
Oh,
wore inmate outfits.
that's
And they
great.
came and we're she's keeping us in line for the next 18 years.
Yeah,
That. Okay, so cake or pie?
this is hard because it really depends on what type it is, but I'll go with cake.
Ooh, which kind of cake?
Chocolate with peanut butter icing.
Anything chocolate peanut butter. It's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I had a chocolate peanut butter pie. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think, maybe like 8 or 9 years ago, and I still think about it. So good. So good. Is double dipping at a party ever acceptable?
No.
I agree. Agree. What's for dinner tonight?
Um, it depends on what time Jason gets back from his appointment. Thor has his training tonight, so if he doesn't get back to have the leftover fettuccine alfredo, we're hitting a drive-through on the way to training.
That's all good. That's all good. We're doing ravioli for dinner tonight. So, but I went to
Nice.
Costco and I bought the ravioli, so I don't have to make it. I do cheating.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't. No, there isn't. Um, let's see here. Sourdough or wheat?
Wheat.
That's good. I got one. I'm gonna hold that one off to the last one. What is the best age?
I would have to say the one I'm at now.
Yeah, yeah. And do you just feel like you own your age now? Like I went through that. Like I own it now.
I just feel that all the experiences you have, every minute, every second, there's just more experiences, and there's so much more to know and understand and learn. And
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, so who inspires you?
ooh, that's a good question. You know what? Senator Dole is definitely up there.
Yes,
That,
yes.
I mean, for everything that she's done, I mean, even just this past year, losing Senator Bob and still uh,
Yes.
being there and doing everything she does, and still pushing forward is.
She is, I tell everybody this, she is one of the most kindest, most motivated for caregivers, the most enthusiastic, I mean, and genuinely a good person. Like, I didn't know what to. I'm just going to be really honest. I became a Dole Fellow in 2014, and I didn't know what to think because you meet certain people, and you're like,
Mhm.
I don't know what kind of person they are when you like in the Senate and this Congress, even former,
Mhm.
and you sit back and you're like, I don't know what they're like, but she is the real deal, and Bob was
She
too. I loved him as well. He had the best one-line jokes. The best. Um, it, I think everybody should have her as a family member. Like,
it's I did not have the opportunity to meet Senator Bob. But this past May was my first trip to DC as a fellow. And unfortunately, within our group, there was a COVID exposure.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
And so we kind of got the memo, kind of give her space. And I get it, right? But I was kind of bummed. I was so looking forward to meeting her. But okay, like I get it and I'll respect it. Fair enough.
Yeah,
So after the convening, Jason came with me to the convening, but we had a training afterwards that we went someplace else for. So Jason was getting himself ready, and he wound up talking to one of the foundation's staff, and she said, "Well, would you like to meet Senator?" And Jason said, "I would love to."
absolutely.
And so he got to go meet her, and I didn't. Like, I was like, "How does this happen?" Right? But
Oh
he talks about how he's like, she knew more about my story than I know about my story. Like,
yeah,
here she is, 85 years old, and she is that on top of it, that she knew exactly who I was, exactly who he was, and exactly who I was.
yeah. She
That's just amazing.
she knew my husband too, and we had a medical emergency. Um, Gosh, it's been 7 years ago, I think it was. It was pretty big with my husband, pretty big. And she actually got wind of that. And she called me at the hospital. I was at the emergency room with my husband. And she gave me such sound advice. And she reassured me that the foundation had my back and
Hmm.
anything I needed support wise, they were going to be right there. And I have never forgotten that feeling. I mean, it's been 7 years now, and I can seriously, if I'm not careful, I will start crying because that meant the world to me. That's the kind of person she is. She genuinely cares, and I've also seen this foundation grow, and I've seen the advocacy for it explode. When I
Hmm.
first became a caregiver, there were no resources, there was no help. Period. End of story. And I found out about the foundation on a caregiver retreat that I had taken with another nonprofit, and there was an emeritus on this trip and she had encouraged me to apply. It was the first year that the foundation was going to have Dole Fellows from every state. And so I didn't. I'm gonna be genuinely honest with you right here, right now. I genuinely didn't think I was good enough to apply because I didn't have a nonprofit that I ran. I didn't gather people, caregivers in for events. Um, I didn't. I didn't have doctor at the end of my name. I didn't write a book. I didn't have a podcast. And those who have all these positions, I think that, I support and I'm cheering you on. I don't mean it like that, but I just felt like not worthy enough. Like I was just my husband's caregiver and, um, and that was that, right? And living the daily life, as you do, as you go to the VA. And when I got on to the foundation, I met other people just like me. And
Hmm.
it really empowered me. And then to see where, okay, we've got the RAND study. And so now we've got the data on regular old caregivers, just regular
Right.
day, and then to see, people have come to me and have said, we've actually heard of the foundation now, like recently, and to bring my city in on as a hidden hero city. It's just an amazing work, and it's all started by one person, and that was Senator Elizabeth Dole when she was at Walter Reed, and she met other caregivers while Bob was getting treatment. Um, when I say she is the real deal, she is the real deal, and there's very few people in Washington D.C. that you can say about that.
I
And
would I would agree.
yeah, Bob was amazing too. I actually got to kiss him. Think
Good
about
for you.
post COVID, we were at their home And he said, I like kisses, so I kissed him on the cheek. So, and I'm glad I did it. I got the picture to prove it too. And
Fantastic.
that picture right there is of me and Bob. It's kind of back there. It's got that little one, a little. That's me and him. That was before I kissed him. So I had the picture too. But yeah, it's hard to describe to somebody until you actually get to go, and then you meet other people, and you don't have to explain your life. You just get one another,
Right.
right? It's
And
incredible.
I had that kind of moment in October when we were there. We had our meet and greet, and we're sitting in this restaurant in this room, and I'm at a table and I have my back to the wall and I have a view of the room. And I look up and all of a sudden I just like glance the room and I'm like, wow, like how amazing is this? All of us here together, we all have, you know, we're all here for the same reason. We all go through everything that we go through. And yet here we are coming together, you know,
Yes.
to just
Yeah,
be that voice. And
community. Yes.
oh,
It's incredible.
it really is. It really is.
And so now, so you went last year, and then right, and then are you going again this next year then?
Um, I don't know, because things are kind of screwed up because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was selected as a 2021 fellow, but we didn't have any in-person events in 2021. So 2022 was the first in-person events. I was told that until their plan is that to have the event split and at the gala is when you are passed off as alumni, which means next October at that gala, I will then graduate to alumni. So I don't quite know the plans because this past October they brought all the 2020 fellows in because they had absolutely nothing because of COVID. So that was their big,
Mm-hmm. That was their big hoorah too.
yeah.
It was.
So,
I'm hoping to go back. I mean, I've been an alum now since my first year as an alum was 2016, and I'm hoping to go back this this next, like in the spring, maybe head on in. I keep wanting to find out when the next dates are because I need to block time out as a caregiver. You just really got to make sure you block that time. But
mm-hmm.
if I don't make it back in 23, for sure, I'm going to go back for my 10th year. And, and I'm hoping the 2014, more 2014s come in because it would be nice to get the 10, the first year that all the fellows for all the states and get all of us back together and go, hi. And then I want to meet the new ones and love on the new ones too. Everybody that I've not met. And
Oh.
you, if you can come in, I'm that hugger. I'm that crazy hugger.
Well, I was going to say, I'm lucky enough that I'm pretty close. It's a 4-hour drive.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No.
It's a half
And
an
I
hour.
drive in, even with the traffic, just because by the time you get to the airport, you get loaded. And if Jason comes with me, we don't fly with him. We just have too much medical equipment to.
Yeah, no, I understand that because when we fly, it's airport security looks at us, and I always do the pre-check and do the wounded warrior stuff for him, so that way I have an agent with my husband to get him through airport security. But it is a lot to carry that medical equipment, and then we have the service dog too, which is, now that I have to say, going through airport security with a service dog, that's a lot of fun because the mouths drop because he'll put his dog down into the down position and then
Mm-hmm.
he'll go through the scanners, right? And then he'll turn around and then he gives the command and the dog slowly walks up and then like he just like slowly walks through that scanner. And
That's fantastic.
I'm coming, no big deal, and it blows people's minds away to see a dog have that much training put into him. Now, when he's home, he's a nutcase, and he's
It's
on. He's half German Shepherd, and he acts like it. So that when that vest goes on, it is a whole different game. I real quick before I say, if you guys hear in the background some snoring, I have a dog next to me. Um, and she is almost 15 years old and she is snoring away. So if you hear snoring, it's not me, it's her. She's like right here taking a nice, deep, almost 15-year-old nap. But yeah, I hope to get back in. That's a goal of mine. But in the meantime, I have just done things locally as an alum, bringing in the Hidden Heroes City, which was a passion of mine. It took me several years to get our city on board. It didn't happen the first time, and we had to change mayors. So
It's,
yeah, so it happened, and I have another city in mind. I want to go back to my hometown and bring them in, not where I currently live, but where I grew up at. That's on my radar. And then I've done booths that
mhm.
my mayor has reached out and has said, hey, we've got something we think maybe the foundation needs to be represented at. Would you be willing? And um, so I go out and I do that too. I took my husband the last time and I was really proud of him. It was the first time he ever went with me to a booth. Just
My
so,
husband loves to go out to the booths
does he?
with me. Yeah, he goes with me all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. My husband's okay. maybe maybe I need to get him some training, and get him come on now, let's do it. But he's very supportive, and he got to meet Senator Dole in 2019. Yeah, we went to Indianapolis when the city became a Hidden Heroes city, um, and the Today Show was there, and so he was sitting in the tent and we were having lunch and I said, I'll be right back. Now he's legally blind. And so I left him and went to go get our food and I come back and I couldn't find him. I was scoping him everywhere. And my heart
Oh,
was going 100 miles an hour. Are we having a moment right now? Like, is this, do I need to go into caregiver mode and start panicking a little bit and start going, where is he? Where is he?
right.
Do you want to know where he was sitting at?
With Senator Dole. I
Yes,
get it.
a front row, front seat, front table, sitting right next to him, and I walked right up and I thought, okay, take a breath. And he's okay. And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She said, the dog. And I'm like, "Whatever you want, Senator Dole, what you get, whatever you want." And he was sitting there. My husband was smiling so big, and then that dog was getting loved on, and she's a dog person, so she was getting some snuggles
Yeah.
from the dog.
Oh,
So anyhow, well, I've got one last question to ask of you.
okay.
If Darth Vader offered you a hug, would you accept?
Um, sure. He needs some love too.
He does. He does. Well, Georgette, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me about your garden and a little bit about the foundation and caregiving. I want to say thank you to everybody that stopped in. So, you guys, make sure you give somebody a hug, and we'll see you guys next time. Okay? Bye. And you,
Bye.
Georgette, hang on.